Hi, I'm Eleni, and I'm here making a video on something that people ask about all the time. How to stay calm when somebody else, a person, an individual, or a group, is criticizing, judging, blaming, attacking, blasting you, treating you completely unfairly, being very emotive, yelling, screaming, name-calling, and what to do. How to stay calm so you don't get escalated and then things get really tough, and how do you handle the situation. Now I wrote here, it's key for the 21st century. This is a skill that as we master it, we will be able to influence all types of conversations and, better yet, stay calm in the midst. Instead of getting hooked by everyone who's frustrated and upset in the grocery store, at the gas station, in traffic, at home. You know, if we're always absorbing everyone else's emotions, we're like all over the place because a lot of people are frustrated. But let's say we want to stay calm and grounded and be more, in control of how we feel. This is what we could do. So let's say somebody's blaming you. They've heard things about you that were incorrect. They have the whole situation wrong. And they called you and they're yelling at you. They're already upset. It's, 5:30 on Sunday night. The project is due on Monday. There have been mistakes that, have been made, but someone is blaming you for things you haven't done. This is a triad that you might have. You might start like being annoyed, then you get frustrated, then you get angry. So these are gradations of anger. Then that makes you defend yourself because somebody's saying, you did this, and you're like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't say that. No. And then to do those and to feel this way, you might be thinking, he's wrong, he's unfair, this is ridiculous, he's blaming me for something that didn't even happen. I have to defend myself and clear my name and clear things up. So let's say you start doing this and you realize as you start defending yourself, he becomes more angry. He yells louder, he starts, escalating, and you realize this is not going to go well if you start reacting and defending and then he retorts, because the whole conversation is based on inaccurate information. So let's say you're able to go to the Acropolis, as you can view in other videos, and use your emotions as data, another tool of human-centric leading, and say, okay, I'm angry and frustrated because it's unfair. Fair enough. I can see that this is unfair, and I can see that if I defend myself and get more angry, meaning, get into his anger, this is not going to go well, and I could go to the Acropolis and create another triad. Here it is. Here's another triad that you could create. Let's say you would say, I want to be calm in this instance, and any instance that someone is blaming me and criticizing me, whether it's deserved or, completely false or inaccurate. I want to be empathic. That could also be a behavior instead of an emotion. I want to stay open. And in order to do that, I have to start thinking about people in different ways. I have to start thinking and knowing that when people are anxious and unresourceful and yelling and screaming, they have unmet needs. That's a very important assumption of the human-centric leading model. It's also the basis of nonviolent communication, that way of thinking. So if you see people in a violent or reactive way, they have a need that's unmet. And if you focus on that need, then you can unravel the situation. That's another one of the human-centric leading tools, the basic needs. So you can look at other videos to learn them. If you start saying, okay, I see he's out of control, I see he has information that's inaccurate, this is not the time for me to defend myself, I can calm the situation and then discuss it in another time. But to do that, you have to be able to feel calm and you have to be able to say, I'm okay. That's a very important assumption in this triad, to say, whatever happens, he may blame me, he may say the worst things about me, I may get fired, but I'm still okay. I'll find a way to recover. This does not necessarily consider that. There's an assumption here that it's really bad to have a consequence. It's fear also of consequences. So I should add that here, fear of consequences. We may not be aware of it in the moment if we're in this triad, but that's what's happening. And then here what's happening is, I'm okay. I can handle this. I can be strong when someone else is weak or just out of control, frustrated, tired, whatever they are. And I can then listen. I can be patient. I can agree with any positive thing they said. Like maybe somebody said, this is a misunderstanding. Say, yeah, that's true. Where there's a misunderstanding. Like, if possible, agree with anything you can that a person may say. And say, there's a misunderstanding. So allow someone to be wrong, to yell and scream. And you can stay calm because you're at the Acropolis. You're saying, I'm okay. This is just another time when someone's overstressed, overworked, got wrong information, flew off the handle. What's new, right? It's happening so much, so frequently. It happens everywhere in each part of our lives. So as we start to use a different triad, then we can influence certainly how we feel. So we can stay calm even though other people are aggressive. And also we start to influence a conversation. This would create an escalation. I hope you can you see that? Can you notice that? That if you start becoming angry and the other person is angry, it starts to escalate, and God knows where that discussion goes, but not such a good place. This one calms it down a bit. And then there's hope for later. You say, okay, later when everybody's calm, we have a cogent discussion about what really happened and what we need to do, right? So this, I think, is the very important point it's about the process from getting hooked emotionally when someone's blaming you or criticizing or judging you unfairly, and even fairly. There's no reason for someone to be blasting or blaming or criticizing or yelling, but it happens. And it's not that we're just going to allow everybody to just step all over us. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that we can stay strong when we see another human being in front of us who's really emotionally out of control at that moment and unable to think clearly and listen. Okay? So in this conversation, when there was a lot of blasting, there's no talking. One person was just blah, 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 and the other person couldn't even get a word edgewise. And then realize, okay, I'm defending myself. I can't even get in a word edgewise. Let me shift my strategy. And then this ended and can end with a more calm outcome, saying, okay, all right. And then the next day, when it's better time, you pick up the phone or you go and meet someone and say, how about we rediscuss what happened? What could we do to solve that problem in a new way, right? And so this is really about being calm when other people aren't. Because it's one, for our own health and well-being, so that we don't have to get hooked by everyone else's frustration and anger and anxiety. And it's also to be able to lead and influence a conversation that's not going anywhere, and at least calming it down and knowing that just because I'm listening and I'm not saying anything doesn't mean I agree with what the person is saying. Doesn't agree that silence is an acceptance. I think we can reconsider that and question that assumption we have culturally. It's also saying, I'll be calm when you're upset. Hopefully they'll be calm when you're upset and it will be okay. But in other words, it's saying, I can be strong here and I may listen to it. I may not agree with it. I may not absorb it as true, but I can allow you to have your moment, and then we can move on. And the next day, the next week, whatever the timing is, it can all be a discussion about how can we discuss issues where we don't get into that blaming and criticizing behavior. And, it's also kind of being didactic or showing someone how to stay calm and saying, when you were saying that, I was just staying calm, knowing that we'd be okay, we'd find a solution. Could you do that next time? If you hear information that makes you feel really upset, could you consider it was wrong? And, just have a discussion. So this is a way to influence. This is a way to stay calm. And this is a way to be able to really change the way we behave in the 21st century and in our daily lives, at home, at the grocery store, at the bank, at work, at the doctors. It happens everywhere, right? So think of a place where you have recently been blamed or judged or criticized either unfairly or harshly, and draw your triads. Like, what were you thinking and feeling, and what did you do? And then what would you do if you were calm? And if you realized you're okay, then what would you do differently?